What happens when one of country music's biggest stars finally hits his breaking point on live TV? Today, we're diving into the shocking moment when Blake Shelton walked off the set of the Today with Jenna and Friends show, leaving viewers speechless and the entertainment world in chaos. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone off script. It was a live lesson in how quickly things can go wrong when egos collide and lines get crossed. Stay tuned and drop a comment because you won't believe how this all played out. The morning began like any other on the Today with Jenna and Friends show. Blake Shelton strolled onto the set with his familiar grin, that easy Oklahoma charm lighting up the room. Jenna Bush Hager welcomed him warmly, her energy bright as ever, and the cameras started rolling on what everyone assumed would be a light conversation about his latest album. "Blake, it's so great to have you back," Jenna said cheerfully. "You look amazing. Country life seems to agree with you." Blake chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Well, you know me, Jenna. Just a simple guy making music and living life. Thanks for having me again." At first, everything was smooth. They talked about his new songs, Life After the Voice, and his relationship with Gwen Stefani. Blake was relaxed, cracking jokes as the audience laughed along. But things started to shift when Jenna's co-host, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly jumped in. "Blake, I've got to ask," the co-host began, leaning forward. "There's been a lot of talk about some of your older social media posts. Some people say your comments were out of touch. How do you respond to critics who say you're disconnected from what's going on in the country?" The smile faded from Blake's face for a second. He sat up straighter, his jaw tightening slightly. Anyone who knew him could see he was getting irritated. "Well," he said evenly, "that's a pretty heavy question right off the bat. I've always been honest about who I am. I'm not pretending to be someone else." Jenna sensed the tension and quickly tried to change topics. "Blake, your new single is doing so well, but the co-host wouldn't drop it. I think it's important to address this. You have a huge platform and some fans feel disappointed by certain things you've said. How do you respond to that?" Blake's tone hardened. "Look, I came here to talk about my music, not to be cornered about my personal opinions. I'm a singer, not a politician. Don't you think success brings responsibility?" the co-host pressed. "My voice matters when I'm singing," Blake snapped. "When I'm sitting here, I'm an entertainer, not a moral guide, and I sure don't appreciate being lectured by someone who doesn't know a thing about my life." "Blake, we're not trying to lecture you." Jenna jumped in, her voice tense. "An honest talk?" Blake said sharply. "An honest talk would have started with you telling me this was going to be some kind of interrogation. I'm here doing you a favor, promoting my album." The co-host wouldn't stop. "Our viewers deserve to know where their favorite celebrities stand. This isn't an attack, it's about accountability." "Accountability?" Blake leaned forward. "For what? For having opinions? For not fitting into your narrative? I've never hidden who I am." The room grew thick with tension. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Producers whispered frantically into their headsets. Jenna tried again, her voice shaky. "Let's just take a breath. We're all friends here, right? Let's talk about your tour." But Blake was done playing nice. "Friends? Friends don't ambush each other on live TV. I came here to talk music, not politics." "Blake, you're being defensive," the co-host said carelessly. "Defensive?" Blake stood abruptly, his mic snagging on his chair. "This is me being polite while you sit there calling me irresponsible and out of touch. I've shown nothing but respect, and this is what I get?" The studio went dead silent. Jenna looked horrified. The co-host still didn't get it. "Blake, sit down. Let's have a meaningful discussion." Blake's face hardened. "Meaningful? You call this meaningful? This isn't journalism. It's you trying to make a scene. You wanted your viral moment. Well, you got it." "Blake, please," Jenna said softly, but he raised his hand. "No, Jenna, I'm done. I came here in good faith to promote my music. Instead, I get treated like some kind of villain." He started to leave, pulling off his microphone pack. "You know what's really irresponsible? Using your show to attack people, forgetting that guests are humans, not content for your ratings. Running away won't fix anything!" the co-host called out. Blake froze, then turned slowly. His voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Defend myself to you? Someone who already decided who I am before I even walked in? You never wanted to hear me. You just wanted your gotcha moment." Jenna's eyes filled with tears. "Blake, I didn't want this. Please don't leave like this." "I know you didn't," he said, his voice softening briefly. But this is what happens when agendas take over your show. He looked straight at the co-host. I hope whatever you think you achieved was worth it, because you just burned a bridge with someone who's always been respectful. Blake, you're overreacting, the co-host muttered. Overreacting? Blake shouted. Or maybe you just can't handle being called out for chasing ratings instead of showing respect. He turned to the camera, his voice clear and steady. If you're watching at home and you've ever felt like the media doesn't represent you honestly, well, you just saw it live. I came here to talk about music and joy, and instead, I got lectured by people who think they know better. The co-host tried weakly. That's not fair. Fair? Blake laughed bitterly. Fair would have been telling me what kind of interview this was. Fair would have been treating me with the same respect I've always shown this show. Jenna was now crying openly. Blake, please. I had no idea this would happen. He paused, meeting her eyes. I believe you, Jenna, but that makes it worse. It means someone on your team decided to turn this into a setup. He looked around at the stunned crew. This is what happens when TV stops being about connection and starts being about conflict. Blake, our viewers can handle tough topics, the co-host insisted. You're right, Blake said coldly. They're smart enough to see through what you just did. They can tell the difference between a real conversation and a staged ambush. He moved toward the exit. And they'll remember who showed respect and who didn't. Please don't go, Jenna pleaded. We can fix this. The conversation I came here to have was about music, he said quietly. That conversation ended 15 minutes ago when your co-host made this political. He looked at his phone. I've got a session later with people who actually want to hear my music, not debate my beliefs. That's where I belong. Blake, the co-host called, still trying. I just hope you think about how your words affect others. Blake stopped, not turning around. You should think about that too, because today your words cost you a guest who always showed up with respect. And with that, Blake Shelton walked off the Today with Jenna and Friends show, leaving behind a silent studio, a shaken host, and a co-host who finally realized what they'd done. The cameras lingered for a few seconds, catching the tension and Jenna's tears before the feed cut to commercial. What started as a simple interview had turned into one of the most dramatic walk-offs in live television history, a moment that would replay across social media for weeks. Blake made his point loud and clear, and from that day on, celebrity interviews would never feel quite the same. So what do you think? Was Blake right to leave when things went south, or should he have stayed to smooth things over? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories from the world of entertainment.